Good morning, my name is Lee Smith. I'm a part-time master's student in project management at Northumbria University, and this presentation is for the module Project Organisation and Information Management, exploring the different power modules that are active within the organisation and their impact on the project manager. To understand better the power resistance dynamic, we start with the organisation. This is the corporate representative of the relationship, shapes all areas of life and is the dominant institution. The organisation itself exists in a state of chaos, and therefore the primary objective of the organisation is to bring about balance, order and conformity. To bring about control, organisations can utilise a wide range of tactics, and one of them is power. Power not only to persuade, cajole or threaten people to do things they wouldn't normally do, but through a range of communications of all types, corporate organisations will seek to influence and shape the decision-making attitudes and behaviours of their employees. This immediately has an impact on project managers, as often when managing the project team, project managers do not have direct line management responsibility. So it is important for the project managers to develop man management and leadership skills to enable them to motivate the team members to undertake tasks that would often sit outside of their day-to-day routines. There are a number of forms of power that are used and sometimes abused in the workplace. The model of power famously developed by French and Raven included positional, referent, expert, reward, and the most explicit of all, coercive. This is getting someone to do something they wouldn't normally do, and therefore is a form of power that is often misunderstood and misused. And whilst you may think the abuse of coercive power is rare in such enlightened times, one only has to look at the Me Too campaign to see that it is very much alive. Other forms of power, such as ideology, and specifically capitalism. Companies look to use the power of the organisation to shape people's behaviours and attitudes. We also have subjectification. This is the establishment of self-identity through the organisation. For Sewell and Wilkinson, this creates a climate where self-management is assured, and Charles Perrow viewed it as organisations are the means for imposing one's definition of the proper affairs of men upon other men, something that is extremely relevant for today's project manager. The Brexit crisis, the Momentum campaign within Labour and the infighting within the Conservative Party shows the difficulties of a project manager can face in corralling all the available resources in one strategic direction when the organisation itself is conflicted about its own existence. Mumby, Fleming, Spicer and Weber suggest that power and resistance are so closely intertwined to the point where they are dependent on each other for their own existence. Resistance represents a specific relationship with power, blocking it, challenging it. Resistance can be the precursor for change, positive change, that reconfigures the organisation's values and messages. One particular method of resistance, the most obvious, is the act of saying no, refusal. We also have resistance as voice. Rather than refusing, the individual vocalises their objection to the organisation or the policy, but by doing so in such a way that they attempt to gain access to the decision-making apparatus. We also have resistance through persistence. The use of tacit and explicit knowledge developed over time. Workers can challenge the policies of the organisation. For the project manager, this means that in addition to the leadership and man management skills they also need to demonstrate excellent communication abilities. In fact, a combination of all three is needed for the project manager to articulate their requirements, maintain motivation, and also lead and manage the team so that the negative influences of the power resistance battle are no longer damaging. In order to gain insight into the world of project managers and the power resistance concepts in both the organisation and beyond, a number of questions were asked of project managers in the UK and overseas. The results showed an understanding of the concept of power and both its uses and its misuses. It is recognised. One example shows that the staff renaming the project "People Don't Sleep," a clear indication of resistance. And there is also a pattern emerging that shows a focus on the negative aspects of the power and its uses, both in an organisational and a personal level. As with leaders, followers, power and resistance, there is an additional parallel with the management of risk for project managers. The negative elements of power, project managers can succumb to reviewing the potential consequences of risks in a very negative and threatening fashion, whilst there are occasions when actually the reaction to a risk can be positive or an opportunity. Similarly, it is easy for project managers to focus on the negative, something that comes through in the conclusions, the abuses or the misapplication of power, rather than the positive. Thank you. That's the end of this presentation. And would there be any questions?